Former AEW World Champion MJF thinks it's smart business by WWE to run against AEW All in Texas this weekend. Former AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May, now known as Blake Monroe, reportedly has already been discussed for a heel turn on WWE NXT. AEW President Tony Khan reportedly really likes Switchblade Jay White. An update on the long-term WWE plans for Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed's faction on WWE TV. A judge has ruled that Janelle Grant's bill of discovery against Dr. Carl and Coker will be filed. An update on TNA Wrestling's participation in WWE Evolution on Sunday. Bully Ray outlines his misgivings with the AEW All in Texas 2025 main event stipulation. Kevin Nash reacts to the possibility of the WWE fan that CM Punk apologized to in Saudi Arabia being a plant. Details as to why Zack Sabre Jr. recently won the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Tyler Bate reveals he's not injured. He says he's waiting to be used by WWE. Tony Khan opens up on Jim Ross's role in AEW. And WWE superstars Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have their home burglarized. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's get into straight away the counter-programming by WWE to AEW All in Texas this weekend. And MJF has weighed in on WWE running shows against AEW All In at Globe Life Field. All Elite Wrestling is set to host its biggest event in North American history on Saturday with AEW All in Texas. WWE is also marked for a big weekend with NXT Great American Bash on Saturday afternoon, WWE Saturday Night's main event on Saturday night, and WWE Evolution on Sunday night. Speaking to Scott Fishman of TV Insider, MJF gave his thoughts on WWE running against AEW All In. He said, quote, "You mean shows that are running at the exact same time as us, even though they claim we're not competition? How do I feel about it? I think it's a smart business practice. I give jolly old St. Nick and Trips a whole lot of credit. At the end of the day, if you can stomp out your competition, you're doing what is necessary. Lord knows I would. Everyone is judging them for it. I think it's silly. Don't judge them for it, but also don't be stupid. They're not doing this by happenstance. This isn't circumstantial. None of it is. The difference between me and everyone else is even though I know that, I'm not going to pretend that it is not the truth or going to stand here and pretend that it's not an incredibly intelligent thing to do. I would stomp on anyone's neck if it meant I would get ahead. I've done it a million times in my career. That's my thoughts on that," said MJF. Now let's talk about Blake Monroe, the former Mariah May, and it looks like she could already be set for a heel turn. The former Mariah May, of course, is in NXT, rechristened as Blake Monroe, and was introduced to huge popularity and fanfare on the brand. However, with a direction that Fightful say they've heard of recently could change. Fightful Select say they have learned that a heel run for Blake Monroe on NXT has already been discussed. Now, Fightful say they haven't heard specifically when it could happen, but that has been brought up for the near future. There are long-term plans for Blake Monroe on NXT television after debuting on the brand last month. Now, Tony Khan reportedly is a big fan of Switchblade Jay White. While Jay White has not always been positioned in the main event scene since signing with All Elite Wrestling in 2023, AEW President Tony Khan, quote, really likes, end quote, the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. That is according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, who noted that Jay White would likely be back on TV as soon as he is ready to return from a broken hand. He said, quote, I don't know when Juice or Jay are back. Juice is going to be back soon. I know that, or ready to be back. I don't know if he'll be back, but he should be ready soon. And Jay, I know Tony really likes Jay White, so I think that when Jay White is ready, he'll be back. I would think it should be soon on him too. I mean, he broke his hand, but that injury isn't usually as long as this, Meltzer said. Now, Jay White has been out of action since early April, being written off of AEW television with a backstage attack from the Death Riders. It emerged shortly after that White had legitimately suffered a broken hand, which led to significant creative changes, one of which may have been the scrapping of an impending Jay White heel turn. Jay White's Bang Bang Gang stablemate Juice Robinson is also currently out of action with a broken fibula. Their colleagues in the Guns are not injured, but simply have not been used by All Elite Wrestling since February. Now, an update on the plans for a big faction on WWE television. Long-term plans are already in place for the faction of Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Bron Breakker, and Bronson Reed. The long-term goal of the stable will see Bron Breakker eventually turn on Seth Rollins, according to Bodyslam.net. Plans for Breakker's betrayal of Rollins are still a long way off, but the split within the faction is expected to be explosive, Bodyslam noted. WWE reportedly see Bron Breakker as the future of the main event scene, and it's also likely that Paul Heyman will remain alongside the nephew of Scott Steiner whenever he does turn on Rollins. Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman formed their faction in the main event of WrestleMania 41 Night 1, with Heyman helping Rollins to win the triple threat match against Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Bron Breakker then joined the group on the Raw after WrestleMania before Bronson Reed was added on the May 24 edition of WWE Saturday Night's main event. Now, a bit of an update here when it comes to Janelle Grant's lawsuit against WWE and Vince McMahon. Janelle Grant picked up a victory in court as the Connecticut Superior Court ruled that Grant's bill of discovery against Colin Coker and Peak Wellness will be filed. In June, Grant submitted filings that requested access to communications between Coker and his staff with Vince McMahon or WWE. Grant requested any possible travel logs, evidence related to the contents and purposes of the IV treatments and supplements she received at Peak Wellness, the practices and policies of the clinic, and any security camera footage of Grant or McMahon on property belonging to Coker or the clinic between March 1st, 2019 and May 1st, 2022. From the court ruling, quote, "This action is a bill of discovery. The bill of discovery is an independent action in equity for discovery and is designed to obtain evidence for use in action other than the one in which discovery is sought. As a power to enforce discovery, the bill is within the inherent power of a court of equity that has been a procedural tool in use for centuries. The bill is well recognized and may be entertained notwithstanding the statutes and rules of the court relative to discovery." Now, in Grant's original January 2024 lawsuit, Grant's attorneys say she visited Peak Wellness more than 60 times between 2019 to 2022 at the urging of McMahon. Grant alleges that Coker and Peak Wellness prescribed her supplements and infusions that were not identified to her. Coker continues to deny any wrongdoing and maintains Grant has received her full medical records. He filed a defamation suit against Grant's attorney, Ann Callis, in May. Now, Evolution is this Sunday, and we got an update on TNA Wrestling's involvement in it. WWE updated their plans for the Battle Royal at Evolution on Monday Night Raw, with it being revealed that Nikki Bella, Natalya, Maxine Dupree, Ivy Now, Stephanie Vaquer, and Nia Jax will all compete for a women's title shot at Clash in Paris. TNA Wrestling are also set to be involved at WWE Evolution, with Bodyslam.net reporting there will be a few TNA surprises in the Battle Royal. It is unknown which talents from the TNA Knockouts division will be utilized at Evolution, but at least 2 wrestlers from the promotion will be working the July 30 Premium Live event in Atlanta, Georgia. Recent reports noted that the Inspiration were under consideration for Evolution. The former Iconics are currently booked in a tag team match against Elena Black and Bea Priestley at Prestige Wrestling's Combat Clash in Portland, Oregon on the same night as Evolution, however. Stephanie Vaquer is considered the internal favourite to win the Battle Royal at WWE Evolution. Of course, the show is reportedly struggling when it comes to ticket sales, though. The show is currently on course to have the lowest paid attendance for a WWE pay-per-view since 2019's Stomping Grounds. Now, All in Texas, of course, is Saturday, and the final card for AEW All in Texas shaped up over the last week. And on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite was revealed that Hangman Adam Page and AEW World Champion Jon Moxley will go head-to-head in a Texas death match in what many are assuming will be the main event. It will be the pair's second Texas death match facing one another, with their first bloody match occurring at Revolution 2023 when Hangman defeated Moxley. WWE Hall of Famer Bully Ray isn't a fan of the stipulation being added, which he discussed on Busted Open Radio, and explained it seems like a go-to match for AEW, and pondered if it really should be the main event of what is expected to be a longer show. He said, quote, "They have their Texas death match, and they need all the bells and whistles because fans have already seen 4.5 hours of a very strong wrestling show that AEW fans love," he said. "I encourage AEW to not allow any other talent to use the bells, whistles, toys, and creative liberties that the main event is going to use. If you want to say that AEW is where the best wrestle, then give me 4 to 4.5 hours of the best wrestling on the planet, then give me the Texas Death Match because that match will mean even more." Now, AEW pay-per-views have been notoriously long and now usually have upward of 12 matches per show. Last year's All-In event from Wembley Stadium featured a total of 11 matches. As of this recording, 8 matches have been announced for the show, with Fightful Select reporting that another multi-person match will be added to the card before this Saturday. Now, people are still talking about CM Punk's apology to Saudi Arabia during the Night of Champions weekend recently. It wouldn't be a year in wrestling without CM Punk becoming a top story at some point, and that was the case again at Night of Champions. Unfortunately for Punk, the story wasn't about him wrestling John Cena for the final time in their careers, but it was about him wrestling in Saudi Arabia. A previously unthinkable stance given things Punk had previously tweeted about the country. But Punk worked the show with little difficulty, something that drew scorn from some fans, particularly when he apologised to Saudi fans for his previous remarks, stating that his anger wasn't towards Saudi Arabia, but to The Miz, the other subject of Punk's tweet for which he apologised to his fellow WWE superstar. That wasn't the only controversial part of Punk's apology, though, as some within the wrestling media speculated, or just flat out said, that the Saudi Arabian fan Punk apologised to at the pre-Night of Champions kickoff show may have been a plant, and that Punk's apology had been planned and wasn't done on the fly. Whether that was the case or not remains unclear, but what is clear is how WWE Hall of Famer and former CM Punk rival Kevin Nash feels about the situation, with Nash answering a question about it on his Click This podcast with just 2 words. "Who cares?" Nash said. While not a full-blown defense, Nash's remarks do make him one of the few wrestlers who have publicly spoken out in favor of Punk and his situation since Night of Champions. The other prominent wrestler to do so was his former co-worker Rob Van Dam, and also his former friend in AEW, that being Jim Ross. Now let's go over to New Japan Pro Wrestling here and talk about their brand new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling were stunned on June 29th when Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Hiroki Goto at the Tanahashi Jam event to become the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. The reason for fans being surprised at the result was that Goto's run had been very well received by those in Japan and internationally, and the fact that Tanahashi Jam event was airing exclusively in Japan with no legal way of watching the event for non-Japanese fans. Despite these 2 factors, Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Sabre Jr. had been scheduled to win the belt from Goto at this show for some time, citing New Japan wanted to do something big for their TV special as the main reason why Tanahashi Jam was chosen as the event for the title change. Another reason was that the event was taking place at the Dolphins Arena, arguably the second most famous wrestling venue in Japan outside of Tokyo, and it will be closing its doors permanently in the coming weeks, with the IG Arena set to take its place as the main arena in the area. The show itself was deemed a success according to Meltzer, as over 4,500 paid fans were in attendance, and while it was not a sellout crowd, it was the largest crowd New Japan had attracted to the Dolphins Arena since the 2019 G1 Climax tournament. However, the night was anything but a success for Goto, as he not only lost his championship he worked so hard to win, but he was the first IWGP World Champion in history to lose the title via referee stoppage. Goto will now be taking an undisclosed amount of time away from the ring due to injuries, which also means he'll be missing out on the 2025 G1 Climax tournament. Now, Tyler Bate, he's clarified some recent reports and rumours about himself. Tyler Bate has seemingly been benched by WWE, with the 2-time NXT UK champion having not wrestled since a WWE main event taping on May 26th. Reports at the beginning of July noted that it was believed that Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne were dealing with injuries, which is why they're currently not being featured on WWE programming. Bate has since denied this, however, and noted on Instagram that he isn't injured and is simply waiting. WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque has received criticism since Bates' post, with many angry fans replying to an 8-year-old tweet from Triple H which said, quote, "At 19 years old, who doesn't think Tyler Bate is the future of this industry? Congratulations." Now, Bate has been a part of WWE since late 2016, and he was moved to the main roster in January of 2024. The 28-year-old only returned from a 9-month injury layoff in March, which led to the reformation of the New Catch Republic with Pete Dunne. Now, an update on Jim Ross, and here's AEW status. More than 6 years into AEW's existence, Tony Khan believes Jim Ross remains a vital part of the promotion. Quote, "Jim Ross is an indispensable part of AEW. He's the greatest wrestling commentator of all time," Khan told TMZ Sports last week. "I first heard JR's voice when I was 8 years old, and he immediately hooked me with his commentary. He is a great man. He's done so much in wrestling. He's the original voice of AEW." The 73-year-old Ross underwent colon surgery in May and praised Khan for being amazingly wonderful to him during the ordeal. Now that his cancer is gone, Ross is scheduled to be in Texas for All In this Saturday. His role in AEW is to provide commentary for select matches at pay-per-view events. Quote, he has been through some really tough health battles, and I think it's important to stand with Jim, Khan said. Jim's done a lot for AEW and me personally. It means a lot that I can be there and stand by Jim in a tough time for him, and it's so great to hear that Jim is doing much better now. We're all wishing JR the best in his recovery. Everyone in AEW loves JR. He has been a huge part of AEW from the very beginning, and it's great to have him in AEW now as part of the team. On his Grilling JR podcast last week, Ross said he doesn't know which match or matches he'll be doing commentary on for All In, but he would like to be on the call for Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega's match at the pay-per-view. And finally, some bad news when it comes to Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, because Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have had their home burglarized. Both Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are active members of the current WWE Monday Night Raw roster, and both appeared on this week's show on July 7th. For Rollins, he would close the show off by facing Penta, while Lynch continued her growing feud with Bayley and Lara Valkyria. On Tuesday, July 8th, TMZ reported that Rollins and Becky Lynch had their home broken into on Tuesday morning. The outlet reports that Rollins and Lynch's house was burglarized around 3 a.m. in Playa del Rey. The investigation is said to still be ongoing, and no one was home at the time of the break-in. It is unknown at this point if anyone has been arrested regarding the break-in, but money was taken, with Rollins being reportedly the one to call the authorities following the burglary. Of course, if we get any more details on this, we'll let you know in a future video. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.